What do movies like Dance With Me, Gran Torino, Marley and Me, Fantastic Four, The Fighter, and TV series like The Sopranos, Dexter, Ozark, Orange is the New Black, Mayans, Narcos, CSI, and NCSI have in common? Well, his name is Daniel Indart, and he is our guest today. Welcome to the Hollywood Makers. Today, I am so excited to have such a great guest with me, such a great speaker that is just, I'm in awe of all that he has accomplished. His name is Daniel Indart, and I already did the pre-intro, and obviously he's worked in so many amazing things. He is an award-winning songwriter, producer, entrepreneur, also a teacher. He has 60 albums under his name, over 250 original songs. He has worked with amazing people like Ricky Martin, Quincy Jones, people in the Hispanic media that are very well known, like Lupita D'Alessio, Yuri, Pimpinela back from its day. Like his repertoire is amazing. He started a few years ago, and he graduated from the Berklee School of Music in Boston as a magna cum laude in original scoring and arranging for film. So it's such an amazing day for me because I get to ask all these questions that you guys might have if you're starting in the business of music and you want to score movies or TV or even start with commercials like Daniel did. So it is my pleasure to introduce Daniel. Daniel, thank you for being with us. Welcome.
No, thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and to be able to share my story so I can inspire other newcomers.
Oh, I love that. I love that because that's what we're about at the Hollywood Makers, because you definitely have made it. You have, like, your trajectory is very impressive, and we're very proud of you because you're putting the name of Hispanics out there in an area where maybe people didn't know that it was such an important thing to have. And so I'm going to start with, obviously, I know a little bit about you because I did my research, but I want you to tell the audience in your own words, how did you start? What's the story of Daniel? Who is Daniel?
It's basically I'm a South American, came here for Berklee College of Music in Boston. My background is my family was in entertainment business. They were choreographers, actors, and actresses, and so I was surrounded by art and by music, especially classical music. Then when I graduated high school, I had already a band. We were recording albums and making some music locally. I won some festivals. So music was there all the time. Even though I wasn't career-wise, that's it. Not my first choice. My first choice was psychology, but psychology somehow got caught because there was a lot of problems in Venezuela with the university and the government, stuff like that, because there was some movement in the university that were creating problems and stuff like that. The military took the university. I was out of the school waiting. And in the meantime, I was composing songs and at home. And those songs started being I sent it to some festivals, won some festivals, and my family kind of gang up on me and say, hey, you're not going to stay here at home doing nothing, and you see you're being successful doing some writing, so let's do some writing, let's study this. And then opportunity came in to go to Berklee College of Music in Boston. I went over there. I studied 4 years, graduated in film scoring, which is recording for music for movies, and moved to Los Angeles. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I was looking for a contract deal as a singer-songwriter. But in my search for that, I had to do all kind of stuff to be able to pay the rent, like little jobs. I did even accounting in May company. I did demos for other writers. I composed for other people. I was a ghost writer for others. I play instruments for demos and stuff like that. So everything that paid, $50 here, 25. That's how I started, just trying to survive. And one day I received a call from somebody that had my demo. And they said, look, my husband works in an agency. He heard your demo that you did for me, and he would like to talk to you about some music that he needs. And then he called me. He was working in GSD&M, an advertising agency in Texas. And he said, I heard your demo. We would like to see if you can do a demo for Coors beer, for the... the beer, very famous here. So I did the demo. It was something very unique, because that's why they didn't find a person to do that. They asked me if I knew how to do estudiantina, which is a style from Mexico and from Spain originally. And to tell you the truth, at that instant, I didn't know what was estudiantina, but I was so hungry to start working professionally, and that I saw the opportunity and said, you know what, I think I can do it. So I hang up, I started researching, and a couple of hours later I called him back and say, I take the job, I can prepare a demo for you. And then he was very kind to accept that. And I sent the demo a couple of weeks later, and he showed it to the client, and it was a success. They contracted me to create that demo into a full-blown commercial, music for the Coors commercial. And after that, that opened up the door to start doing commercials for Coors more often. And then I did the national campaign for Coors the following year. After that, and it was many commercials. So that's how I started in commercials. It was an opportunity, hungry. I needed to do it. I knew how to do it because of my background helped that. And secondly, the studies I did at Berkeley taught me how to, solve the challenges that I had at the moment. So that's how I started the 10 to 15 years initial phase of doing commercials exclusively for the Hispanic market and the US. And I did anything from Coors, McDonald's, Bank of America, Disneyland, you name it, Crest, P&G, Toyota, many campaigns for Toyota, Hyundai, the cars, I did a lot of them.
Commercials for cars, there's so many of them. Tell me about it. I work in that. I make commercials, so I know. So I definitely know what you're talking about. And it's such a niche thing to have done, because it got you into like a mix of things, right? You weren't just doing one thing, you were doing so many things that opened up your repertoire to do all different type of tempos and music, which is amazing.
You're so right, Claudia, because that was my school. I mean, the real school. Because in Berkeley, yes, Berkeley is fantastic. It's one of the best schools in the world. And the pressure is immense because you got the best talent in the world. I mean, when I arrived there, I knew how to play guitar and piano, but not like a virtuoso, because I've never been a virtuoso. I'm a great composer and producer, but not the instrument. But when I got there, and I saw these piano players, and when I arrived there, I already was 22, something like that, 23, and these kids were like 18, and they played their instruments like they had two lives ahead of me. It was incredible. I mean, the competition was so fierce that many times I had to sit down and say, you know what, am I done? Am I really enough to be in this career? Because it was overwhelming. I mean, seeing the talent in that school at once, It was really incredible. So yes, that helps me find myself, because I knew I'm not gonna be able to be a piano player like this guy or a guitar player like this guy. So where I am, what makes me different and good, where I can come up with that, what part of me is different and unique and has incredible value that is different than these people. So that is started to sit in my head. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, still from Boston, still I was struggling to find myself. And then this opportunity came, the commercials, and it was perfect because my background had all this in my history as a kid, watching my mom create all these ballets and all this. It was visual music. It was movies. So I watch movies every day in my house. And not only that, but stylistically, the music that I heard, not only Chopin and Tchaikovsky for the ballets, but also she had dances from Peru, dances from Ecuador, from Brazil. I love Brazilian dances. I love Argentinian tango, flamenco from Spain. So, wow, all the stuff that was sitting in the background, with no use because it was part of my childhood, but no. Then suddenly when they asked me, hey, we need a version of this salsa in this thing, and I grew up with salsa in Venezuela, I said, really? Okay, whoa.
Of course, I can do that. That's the back of my head all the time.
Exactly.
And what you've been saying is so interesting to me, because I was thinking about, there's this new term that's come up in the past few years that's called the imposter syndrome. And I know a lot of us feel it, especially minorities, when we're in groups of people where we are the only representation of that particular group, and we feel like we don't belong, or that they're like we. And then it was interesting because you said at the beginning you didn't know about the Estudiantina music, but you researched it. So all I think in the back of my mind is like how many times we need to fake it to make it, right? Because we don't know everything, and we have to learn the process, but we got to take the risk to do the things that we're scared of in order to get to the next level. So I was thinking all these things about you, how you were like doing all these things, that the imposter syndrome kicked in, but you moved forward, and then you did the fake it to make it, and you made it. So all these things that people need to understand, that, you know, we all go through it. You didn't just get to become an amazing songwriter with all this repertoire in your background. You fought for it, and you took the steps to get you there. So that's very interesting to me. And then tell me about, because you also created LMS Records and LMS Licensing, which is Latin Music Specialists. So tell me about when you got to that point after you had worked so much in commercials, and you said, you know what, it's time for the next step. What happened then?
Yeah, the next step came in exactly the same way as the first step. Accidents, accidents where I was prepared, thank God, and where I saw the coming and I saw the opportunity. 1986 and 2000 or 1999, I was doing commercial full time. By the time I was in the 80s, I was number one in the US doing commercials, doing all kind of commercials for the Hispanic market. I covered, from New York, the agencies in New York, Texas, of course, Miami, of course, and the agencies here in Los Angeles, some in Chicago, and I would travel all over because there was no internet, right? So. That old, right?
All those transitions.
It takes time. So that's another topic. So here I'm in the middle of the best. With 80s was the golden era of commercials, because music-wise, because there was a huge investment in creating the best music ever. It doesn't matter the money. Everything was union. So you as a union member, as a musician or as a singer, could actually get royalties, because of your performance and your compositions and stuff like that. So that was, I lived that wave. I was driving and cruising and surfing that wave to the best, right? And with the best artists. And my crew of musicians were the best in the world, because the budgets were high. So I will hire, my sessions would be the number one player in LA in trumpet, which was Harry Kim, which was a Cuban hiding behind an American accent, but he switched between the perfect American accent into this Cubano chico, pero ¿qué pasa? Vale, aquí está yo. And played the trumpet like you won't believe. He was the lead trumpet until now that they retired to Phil Collins. He toured the whole world for many years with Phil Collins, number one, and he's a Cubano. And my number one percussion player in all the commercials is Luis Conte, which is amazing. Number one is he was the percussionist for Madonna, for Michael Jackson, and he will be recording with them and then coming to my studio and recording commercials with me and going back to that kind of the group of people that I had assembled, all Latinos, all incredible, top of the world, talent that we have in the world that nobody talks about. But these are all Latinos behind the scenes that are in the top records and the top everything. And then suddenly this union strike came in because they wanted to change the value that the members were having in the sense of with the producers and get more money and stuff like that. So they negotiating the contract, they didn't go anywhere. So they said to all of us, part of the union, don't work to force the producers to come up with the goods. So stop working. It's a command. It's you have to. If you're a member of the union, you cannot work. Imagine that. I'm working full time, doing 2-3 commercials a week, and they said stop. So at that moment, I somewhere in those times, I was following this series of movies. One of them is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark with Harrison Ford, I believe. And so a huge movie. It was a summer movie, adventure, Harrison Ford style. And in this, I'm sitting as an audience in the movie and in the theater, and then like 10 minutes into the movie, a long shot of a night of a plaza in a little town. It zooms in and says Guatemala City, right? And then we're somebody's looking at it, and the camera gets closer to a hotel entrance, and in front of the hotel there's a little mini space plaza, and there's musicians there. And as the camera zoom in, I see that musicians in Guatemala City is a mariachi band dressed as mariachi and a flamenco dancer in front of the mariachi band doing this flamenco moves while the mariachi was playing mariachi. It was very bizarre. Okay, so and I came
have to go back to see that. I'd be so disturbed by it.
Completely, and it used to be like that. We forget.
I had no concept.
Back 80s to the back 90s. It used to be a cliche. I wouldn't know exactly. I would have what came to me is I could completely help these people that spend so much money to be appropriate and correct. Imagine the people in Guatemala would say. And so I started trying to come up with some idea to how I can put this and offer this value to the industry, the film industry. And I came up with Latin music specialists because in that way they would, when I need Latin music, I should call these people. So I started exploring that name and put an ad in the Hollywood Reporter. Well, back then, Variety, Hollywood Reporter was the two main magazines to reach the industry. And I put an ad saying, if you need Latin music, please call us. We'll help you with the right music to the right scene. It's something in those terms. And immediately I received calls, and one of the calls was this guy that wanted to come to the studio, check us out to see how real we were. And he was an independent music supervisor that was working in a major summer film for Sony. So he came over, check us out, check the music that I was doing. we met, he brought a script, and he said, we need music for this script. I can leave it you, and and we'll pay for the demos. I produced music for that, even though I was licensing in that moment, and they took they liked two of the songs, and that's how I started.
Let me just go back to because you've given me so much information, I don't even know where to start. The fact that you noticed a niche, that's so important, right? Because you knew what you were special at. Like, you could do music of any kind of music you wanted with your degree, and you had all this opportunity with the commercials and all that stuff. But you saw the need for your specialty, and you created a company based on that. So the opportunity came because you sought it out, and you created this company that would fulfill that need, right? Supply and demand, which is amazing. But not only that, not only did you create the company to fill this void that was definitely needed, mariachi and tango at the same time, that's crazy. But you also said, okay, let me not just create this, but you took the risk to advertise yourself, because you knew how advertising had worked before. So you advertise yourself to promote your business. So all these things that you've done to move yourself forward, I need to ask you this, because a lot of people, they want to get there, right? They want to be involved, but they don't take the risks or the steps necessary. What made you think, okay, I'm going to do this? Where did that drive come from? Like, how did you say, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Were you afraid of the risks? Can you give us a little bit of background on that? Because I want people that are listening to us that are thinking, oh, how am I going to make it? How am I going to take the next step? Because I've sent my demo to these people. I've done this, I've done that. How did it work for you? Where were the pitfalls that you saw, and how did you get there? That's my point.
Yeah, that's great and a very vast question. And the way to the best way I can put it is my path, my particular path, has a lot to do with my background and where I'm coming from and the opportunities I'm seeing from this side. But my suggestion in general is you cannot sit at home and wait for the opportunity to come to your house. It will never happen. You have to you have to put yourself out there somehow. And even if you have to start for free, but you putting out there and you're being exposed and surrounded by people doing in business, I would suggest if you don't have any other option, that's the best option. Put yourself out there, communicate with other people that are making it, or that needs any skill that you have. Develop yourself somewhat. Develop some kind of skill, even if it's computer skills, even if it's programming, if it's arranging, any aspect of music. Or make a list of your skills that you already have, or improve them, or whatever. But the thing is that use that list of in what can be helpful to somebody else, and start putting yourself out there and not sitting at home. Okay, you have to first. The attitude is I want to be helpful, and. And if you don't have any major money behind you, or a family that is a millionaire and can put a package for you together and start promoting, but at least you can start going out there and helping somebody finish a job or finish a project or whatever. And that way you are already seeing you're next to somebody that is working and you're getting experience. It's very important to expose yourself out there and there are many events, many groups out there. You have to be part of it. If you live in LA, or if you live in New York, or in Miami, or in Texas, and especially Houston or Dallas, and there are a lot of activities going on music-wise, depending what area. If you like film, that's your passion, that's the thing, then I would recommend you to move into Los Angeles, or in a city that you that is producing some films, right? The same with commercials, the same with any area. You have to research a little bit and find where is the activity that's going on close to you. But in fin, what I'm saying is that you have to put yourself out there, and ultimately, the drive is very raw. The drive is you want to live out of music, but then you have to do everything possible to live from music, and use that as a fire to move you to wake up in the morning early, concerned what I'm gonna do, the 10 phone calls today, the 20 visits this week, and start supervising yourself and making yourself goals and making plans and watching yourself that every day you do something towards that, and that will happen if you're consistent and you don't look back and you don't look at the future. You just stay in the present and continue moving one step at a time. Then that's the only way, and surprises will happen, like in my case, right?
Because like we were talking about how you got to this point of you created the company for licensing, but we haven't gotten to the point where you became a staple for the music industry and film, because you've done so many films and so many TV shows, like we talked about before, that are so iconic now, and to have your name associated with them, such an honor for us as Latinos to have someone represent us with that, but also the fact that you got there. So how did you get there? Like, I know that most of what you've done so far up to this point was word of mouth, like people that introduced you to other people and you talked to them and they could see that you had the value there. But so how did the film part come about and the TV part come about?
Well, after I had that opportunity with his music supervisor, he actually recommended immediately. I mean, when this is the real situation, is that the guy came over, the music supervisor came out to find out who we are. That's the first thing, okay? That's the moment that turns the life around. Now, if I don't have minimal social skills, I don't have production skills, I don't thrive to create an amazing sound or music and composition, and I drool on my own, like wanting to be the best. If I don't have that thing, the guy will come in unimpressed, will turn around, thank you, nice meeting you, and never more. End of story. Then how can I explain that? Is the guy was like, whoa, this is impressive. I like what you do. Wow, the song is right on. And this is right on. Here's the money. Give me the song. We're going to use it. I mean, why that happened? And why the guy then called his friends, top industry and music supervisors, to tell them, use this guy, is because I was driven by, I want to be the best in what I was doing, which is the song, the songwriting, the producing, the sound that I was getting was like, wow, records. Every song I invested, no sleeping. Sometimes I didn't eat for 2 days. Majority at the beginning, I didn't sleep sometimes for 2 days to be able to get on time, deliver on time. This is the other thing. If they say Tuesday, you deliver Tuesday early, even before that. If they say 2 songs, you deliver 2.5 or 3. That's kind of my way of doing things. So that brings, yes, it's a lot of effort, more effort sometimes than majority of people. But and I didn't do it because of the money. But yes, I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to lose the opportunity. I didn't want to lose the chance to move forward and higher. So that takes my dream away. I mean, that takes my sleep away. That will stop me from sleeping. Okay, not now. I'm talking about when I started. Now I don't work weekends. Back then, the whole weekend was working. Okay, and nights in pajama. I would up and go to sleep at night in pajama all day. That was kind of my days when I was out of school, and at the beginning, it was like that. Very hard, very intense. but it's self-imposed, because of my ambition, let's say, if anything, and a good ambition. I wanted to shine, and I would love to hear my music back and say, wow. And even today, when I hear sometimes tracks that I haven't heard in a long time, I say, wow, man, that was cool. That was very cool. And
you're proud of your work because you put the time and effort in it, and you turned your passion into a career, not the other way around. So that shows, because the quality of what you were putting out and the passion that you had could be seen by everybody that wanted to work with you at the time. So that's
and I would say that is for anything. If you find the best actor, the best producer in film, the best director, these are people that are maniacs. They don't sleep. They have bad days because they don't eat, and they produce these massive things. I'm not comparing with them, but in my small area, I'm a little bit like that. I enjoyed when the result, for me first, and then when they come, because I am demanding of my level. Okay, so when they come and listen to it, they get blown away, because very few people. I mean, in the industry of music, only the top are doing like they don't sleep.
Well, let me tell you that I always said that in order to work in this industry, in the entertainment media industry, you have to be a little bit crazy, because you either love it and you're doing the crazy stuff that we do, or you hate it. So it's like, it's no midterm. Like, if you're going to love it, you're going to go all in 120%. So you definitely are a crazy lover of this area.
I used to be, Claudia. I used to be, and thank God I wouldn't be able to sustain that intensity for all these years, right? I'm talking about.
Well, you already made your name, and you already have a reputation that you can stand by. That the quality of work speaks for itself. You don't have to prove yourself anymore.
Exactly.
You prove yourself with your work.
And it gets easier to produce the same quality now, because now I have amazing teams that I've been developing for years, that they know what I demand, and they produce that level. And then I just make phone calls, supervise, fix stuff, and then send it. And it's it's like no comparison. By then I was doing everything myself, because I didn't have the money to pay anybody. So I have to no sleep to be able to produce what 10 people will produce, right? And now I'm hiring all these people that are amazing talent, Latinos, and from all over the place, from Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, here, of course, in LA. And because I teach also, I found all this incredible talent, Latino talent, that is amazing. And they become, from students, they become my teams, so it's really
amazing. Cool. So you're passing along the baton to the next generation, which brings me to the idea that you have worked on commercial advertising and TV and film, and doing the passion of the music. In all the time that you've worked on this, what's the best advice that you have received so far?
Advice. I have many, how you call that?
Mentors,
yes. And that is, you know what? That is something I would recommend to, let yourself be in the look for, in the open arms for mentors, usually older individuals, men and women that have found in me what they originally wanted, and then we started having a relationship, professional, and then friendship, and they're still my guidance in many ways, personally and professionally. And that is vital. I mean, totally. And people that I started with were my mentors, still are my friends, and still today I appreciate and say thanks,
So your best advice to others is to find mentors that would help them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That I think that's a great advice. I think that people don't realize how a mentor can be such a game changer for you, because sometimes we are not so self-aware, and a mentor can kind of guide us in the right direction, or introduce us to the right kind of people that we need in our lives, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's great advice.
It's interesting. All this that we're having a conversation today is the result of me looking back, and it's easy to define or to describe myself when I look back at me, but I never had a clue in the moment when I was doing it. That this is where I was going. I just wanted to. In the moment, I didn't see the big picture because because nobody does.
Yeah, things have changed so much.
Right? Yeah, but I did. I was focused on my present and trying to be the best I could in every instant. And that doesn't mean that I didn't lose jobs and I had, fails and all kind of stuff. But it might have take my win for half a day and then I regroup and come back better than before, and then make another mistake and then do the same process again. So I would tell them this and more.
It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up, right?
Oh my God, yes. Many times.
Yeah.
I lost many jobs, Yeah. Of course.
So we were talking about the changes, right, in the music industry. Like the whole world has changed in the past 2 years because of artificial intelligence mainly lately. But in the music industry, you've gone through all those times when I remember, because I started as an intern, when I used to be in news, and we used to carry the Veta tapes, and that's how we would take them to be inserted, and we would record on Veta tapes. And I remember myself carrying all these tapes of all those news things that we had to do, and then it became like DVDs and CDs, and then it became the little cards, and now it's all digital. So I know the transitions that have to happen also in the music industry. So what for you was the biggest transition that helped you? And how do you feel about AI? Do you think it's more about disruption to the music industry, or is it more a help? How do you position yourself with all these changes?
Well, how it happened in the past, like you say, is so amazing. So many changes in such one life, So I, in how you go about it, just go. The best that happened in all those years was the change into MP3 because, I wasn't in the record business back then. I was in the commercials, advertising, so MP3 didn't represent a threat for me as a career because I wasn't making records. I was making B2B, business to business, so it didn't affect me. You couldn't copy me because I wasn't available. I mean, you can copy the commercial after the air. They pay me already, so I don't care if you copy the commercial and send it to a friend. That's what was happening back then with the MP3s and Napster, remember? But for me, it was relief because everything that I was doing back then had to be under higher pressure because I had to deliver on time. And delivering on time didn't mean like pressing a send button in the computer. It means being ahead of time, preparing production-wise, everything ahead of time. So I have a delivery guy at my door with a motorcycle or a car ready to grab the tape, go to the LAX, to put it in an airplane overnight to arrive in New York the next morning. And they were waiting for the presentation to the client. So I was even praying that the plane doesn't fall. The guy in the motorcycle to arrive to LAX. I mean, that was kind of my life every day. It was crazy. And these tapes, right? You mentioned in the cassettes and all that stuff, right? CDs and then DATs and so. But that the major change. Then it was so easy. It's only right. But then now AI, it kind of, I'm not concerned anymore because we've been so many changes, and every one of the changes were like, oh my God, the world is ending. And no, you find your way. Actually, it's going to be helpful. Probably we're going to do better and faster, and and maybe a new variation could be entered into opportunities, and who knows, just be aware and just continue and going to places where the information is shared. Go to events, go to webinars, and all the time be in the now of the latest stuff, because out of those conversations, new you is to your feet first, So,
and you know what is interesting, because listening to you and knowing your story about how everything happened, you also went back to school. I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think with the AI information coming in, like, information is power, and the more we know, the better. But you did that back in a few years ago, where you had already had your degree, magna cum laude from Berkeley, but you did go back to school because you created your business, the record label, the licensing stuff, and you had no idea how to manage the finances of it. So you decided, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and not know how to do these things. And you went back to school. You went to UCLA, take classes on how to manage your money. Tell me a little bit about that, because I think that I'm very much a person that loves to learn. And I always tell people, whatever you learn today, even if you don't use it, it's precious to you, because no one can take away from you what you learned, and you don't know how you might apply it today or tomorrow, but it's your knowledge, and it's a precious gem that you haven't exploited. So tell me about that part of you. You already have your career, you're already selling, you're already doing all this stuff, but you still went back to school.
Claudia, that's fantastic, and I totally share with you the passion for learning, and that starts from the belief that you don't know 100%, everything. So if you start with that, that's great, because then you're always excited, because you always have to learn something new. And that's true. And there's something new to learn. And what happened is, suddenly I noticed that, wait a minute, I made over, let's say, $100,000 a year. Why I have zero? Not only that, I have to take out of a savings to pay taxes, and I have like nothing left. I was getting really frustrated with a couple of years of those, and say, I'm doing something that I wrong. Totally, I don't know what to do. So how millionaires do it, how people that are successful financially do it, and they know something I don't know, because money, I was trying to read and stuff like that, and trying to learn, but money is something that you learn. It's not something that you come in the genes. No, nothing to do with it. So I researched it and found this extension program at the UCLA that had for professionals that were working, and then they had these courses at night or during the weekends, and they had all kinds of stuff. I mean, amazing university. If you have a university close by, I mean, the listeners, utilize that, because it's an incredible resource. Then I looked for financial courses and started taking one. And the first one I took changed completely my life. And it was something like Winning the Financial Game, which was perfect. The title couldn't be better for that moment. I was waiting for that title. And I read it and I said, this is it. How much? And when? And the guy was amazing. It was an amazing teacher. And he taught us, the group students, what focus that we should be concentrating on. And then we learn about taxes, and we learn about the self-employment rules and all kind of stuff, and how to manage our investments, and just the concept of investment. I had zero financial education as a kid, so this was necessary to be able to. And that was the beginning. After that, I took courses in management and took courses in business, and almost did a whole MBA, without graduating. But I took all the courses individually. So, and every one of these courses, I will come to the studio and the office and tell my partner, hey, from now on, let's change this, let's change that, let's do this, let's do this. And then next week, I will do the same thing. Oh, I just learned this, let's do now this, let's do that. So it was fantastic. And then a year later, after I started studying, I had already savings in my bank. I started developing a 401k. I was creating things that I didn't have before, So it was great. And I didn't know any of that. So it was great to
And
learn.
that's I guess another piece of advice that comes in from like your experience, right? Invest in yourself, invest in your
Yeah,
education,
yeah,
because the more you invest in yourself, the more you'll get back, because
exactly.
nobody else is going to give you the tools you need. You have to go search them and look for them, and whatever you want to do, whether it's music or licensing or film or in front of the camera or behind the camera, always
Yeah,
invest in yourself, because that will always lead to good results or better results at this point, right?
that's true.
I've taken so much of your time and I have so many more questions, but what would you recommend for people to do to stand out in a music business, especially, right? There's so much demand right now actually there's so much supply with all the new platforms and all the ways that people are consuming music nowadays are so different. Obviously you work on a very niche thing, and I think that's what sets you apart. What would you recommend for people to do to start and to get a kind of like a leg upon of everybody else?
That's very interesting, because we are with AI, and we are in the supply of immense supply that we didn't have many years ago. When I started the licensing, I was the first one basically in Latin music. So I was ahead of the game for many years. So right now, licensing, I would say, unless you have a passion for something and knowledge, but at least passion, because the knowledge you can acquire, and you see the opportunity of something niche or something that can be introduced, because the majority of people will go for the general thing, I mean, majority of people will be generalizing music in general, like any kind of style and stuff like that. But if you have a niche for one particular style, then go for it. Make yourself the special, the knowledge, and sell yourself in that. That's one idea. The other is stay watching the changes as AI develops. Because we're at the beginning of AI. I mean, we're just starting. There's a lot of AI already in development that hasn't hit us yet, but it's coming quickly, and will affect all our lives in many ways, positive. Just keep. If you want to affect change, you have to get the information, like you said, Claudia. You have to be in the know. So always, for example, webinars, I'm always somehow connecting to a webinar, an event, an informational from the industry itself, okay? So if you're in the music industry, find out what are the main players, big companies, big organizations, ASCA, BMI, CSAC, ASCA, BMI, and then all the groups that are related to music that are doing events and webinars. So there are many organizations that help and that are constantly giving information. You have to belong to all of them, be present, be on the web or in person, and stay up to date, and use that information to start thinking, well, where is my next, where can I plug in what I know, what I learn, and stay open.
Great. Yeah. That's great advice. I think that is a great way for people to get those connections and find the mentors and stay in the know and stay with the information up to date, because those organizations will always have the information up to date to what's happening in the world right now. So I really love having this conversation with you. I want to end with two things. One of the things that as a Latino, obviously, being with all the stress and all that, we are told that, work, hard, especially because we have to make our name for ourselves, and this, sometimes the odds are stacked against us and all that.
Right.
What did you do to keep yourself healthy when your hours are crazy? Obviously, that was a long time ago. Now you're in a different level. You're not crazy hours anymore. But in the time that you have to divide with your being a father and a musician and also owner of your businesses, how do you keep yourself leveled and healthy?
that's another area. I mean, I think the job of an entrepreneur, and any person, but entrepreneur especially, because you are the boss, you are the manager. It's all on you. You don't have a boss that they'll say, okay, stop working, it's 5 o'clock, I'm not gonna pay you after that, just go have rest. When you're an entrepreneur, if you don't have that, then you're working 24/7, and that's what I used to do. But then that took me eventually to learning about you and your needs also as a human being, and which then opens up another area, which is self-help and psychology, and what do I need emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and learn about what is the best for you in particular, every person. Do I need what is out there first, and then again, it's a school. It's going to school again. It's like, what is out there? It's meditation, yes. It's mindfulness, yes. It's yoga, yes. It's exercise, of course. And eating well, what's that mean? Etc., etc. And explore areas, find what fits you, and find in the world of self-growth, because that includes the attitude, your mind, your thoughts, and the way you manage and you develop your own self, your own self manager. Is you have to develop it and understand it and learn where is he inside of you, instead of all these parts of you that are trying to do this. No, let's do that now. No, not this one. No, what now? This one. You have to be able to have a manager inside of you that develop it. It doesn't come for free. It's work again. It's the effort in finding out, okay, how I'm conducting this is unfair. I'm eating bad. I'm not going to the gym. That's not helping me. I'm cutting out years of my life. So then self-discipline, self-development, important self-development, self-help, either reading, attending. Today is so much information out there about all, it's very different than our parents. Our parents didn't have a clue, neither a chance. So we have way chance. And if we don't have a clue, it's our fault. That's how I see it. Because
but you know what you just said? It's amazing. I love the way you said it. I don't even think you realize that you said something so important. You have to have your own manager inside you. That's so cool. That I've never thought about that way. Like you manage other people's lives, but you don't manage the inside of you. So you have a manager inside you that can tell you. That takes a lot of time. For somebody inside your subconscious to be able to say, you know what, I'm doing bad. I need to correct this path. So that's great. Develop your own manager inside. I love that. Anything that I taught you about is just so much, and I hope that I can have you back again, like if our audience has questions for you, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there, especially that love music and want to be involved in music, that might have questions that I didn't even get the time or the imagination to ask you today. But I would love to have you again, and hopefully we'll get that opportunity. But
would love to.
Yes, thank you. And is there something that I forgot to ask you that you think it's important for the audience to know? Something that you think is great information for them to have that I didn't get to ask you, or a message that you want to leave the audience with?
Yes, and it's right this last point. And I feel like we did 360. I mean, 360 in what way? 360 in the way of getting to the deepest rock, to the center of everything. And I believe the center of everything is you and your own management of your own persona, and that I mean your spiritual part, your psychological needs, and your biological, physical needs. And I think if we start there, we will have a way better human being and world and everything, because that in itself takes a whole life to be able to evolve and change, and it's a whole life endeavor. So, but I would start there. And when I teach, and I think I might be moving in that direction as far as my next step, is away from with music, but I would like to focus in developing the person. How do you develop the individual? How do you find yourself in the middle of all this craziness? And I'm thinking about Instagram, Twitter, Facebooks, social medias, bombardment of information, and relationships, and the relationship with in industry, the relationship with partners, the relationship with musicians, relationship with yourself, all comes from you. You create the surroundings. You can completely create one or create other, but everything comes from you and how you see the world. So I think that the most important tool to develop and to focus is on you, is who you are, what you need, how do you see the world, and why you see the world that way. And if you can improve it, and how are you going to improve it? By improving yourself first. And I think that is kind of what I would love to help out there, in the sense of
awesome.
Teaching tools, teaching directions, teaching way of thinking, teaching, not teaching, because I'm not. I think it's sharing what I want to do, sharing my experience and how hard it was, and how demanding of breaking myself from inside out to find myself, and who and what helped me and what didn't help me, and how, and put it out there and see if other people can catch up with this or enjoy or take advantage of these tools and stuff like that. I think is next step.
That is awesome. That's a great next step. I love to hear that. I think that coming from a place where you have had so many colorful life experiences, you can definitely help others kind of navigate on territory that they've never imagined that they would or could. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you, Claudia, for the opportunity.
I am so happy that we got to talk today. I hope that our audience got a lot of information that is so useful, and I hope that we get to talk again. Hopefully we'll have questions and if anything, but I will give the information. It's going to be on the screen for everybody that wants to learn more about Daniel and his business. You can look for him at indartmusic.com or danielindart.com. And so we'll have all that information available for everyone so they can learn more about you and see the roster, because I just mentioned just maybe like a few of the things like Dexter and The Sopranos and Dance With Me and Dirty Dancing, like all those names that everybody will recognize, but there's so much more. So you're definitely an encyclopedia of information that we want to dig into more. Thank you, Daniel. Any last thoughts before we say goodbye?
Oh, thank you so much, Claudia, for this opportunity. It's wonderful, and the job that you're doing is fantastic. I support you 100%. And call me anytime you want me to. You have questions, or somebody has questions, and I can be of help.
Thank you so much. Well, everyone out there, we are glad that you joined us. It was a lot of information. I hope you get a lot out of it. Remember, at the Hollywood Makers, we're here to help give you the resources and information and advice, and the pitfalls that Daniel was able to point out, how to get over that. So just remember to be part of our community of Hollywood Makers. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.